It is time to set up Revit to design your Habitat for Humanity house. So we're going to click on New, and this time we're going to click Browse, and we're going to choose the residential default. So choose the residential default, make sure it says it down here, and then click Open, and then OK. And the residential default gives us a lot more options, as you can see on the left-hand side of your project browser. Remember, if yours doesn't show very many items because your screen is smaller, you can always click and drag this if you're very careful and you put it just to the right of the properties panel, then it will show up next to it, and that allows you to see a whole lot more.
So now it is loaded. If you look over here in your project browser, you're going to see that you have a lot of different floor plan views. We do not need all of these, so I'm going to have you just begin by deleting the ones we don't need. We do need footing. We are going to right-click basement and rename that crawl space, because that's what we have in our design. And yes, we want to rename corresponding views. We're going to right-click basement electrical and delete that. We do not need first floor electrical. We don't need first floor framing. We do want foundation. We don't need roof framing, but we're going to leave roof plan, so we'll leave roof plan. We don't have a second floor, so let's delete that. All the second floor items.
So the next one is the site plan. We're going to keep the site plan because we might do some things with that later on. We're also going to keep the top of footing. You probably noticed that there's a change of audio between some of these recordings. It's just simply because I'm editing and updating these videos to make them more relevant and up to date. We do want to get rid of the ceiling plans just so that those don't cause confusion. So I'm going to right-click first floor and delete, and right-click second floor and delete. We're never going to actually get into that ceiling plan option. So it looks like we have everything set up in the project browser. Remember that if you move to a different viewpoint, you need to go back to first floor in the floor plan to be able to actually see your home. I have nothing drawn here, but sometimes you get into an elevation view, a 3D view, and you're trying to figure out, how do I see the top-down view? That is first floor. So as we continue on, please take note of this first. Make sure that you have these items matching what you have on your screen. As the video continues, these are going to look a little different because we did things a little different in the past. So maybe just pause it right now, make sure that these are what you're seeing, and then as you move on, you should be in good shape as long as you have these items.
If we take a look at our elevation, it's important you click north, not east. North shows everything we need to have. You'll see all the elevations are in here for you. And I'm going to zoom into these. Your roof is not going to be at 18 feet. It's actually going to be at 9 feet. So we don't need to have the second floor elevation. So if I right click this, I can delete that. I don't want to have that one in there. So that one is now gone. So we should have everything sort of matching here as what is located in our views here. Our roof is not going to be at 18 feet. We don't need to adjust that quite yet. We'll wait until we get into the roofs video. And along with all of these elevations, these can all be adjusted later on, and they will need to be actually. So now let's go back into our first floor view, and I'm going to show you how to draw walls. Let's go to the first floor, and I'm going to choose wall. And here's what's great about the residential default template, or residential template, is it has walls already set up for you. So we wanted wood siding on a wood wall. I'm going to click on that one, and my walls need to be 9 feet tall. We're only going to have 8-foot ceilings, but we're going to have 9-foot tall walls in the exterior. And I want you to take a look at this. If we edit the type of this and then go into edit the structure, you'll see that they already have the finished siding, clapboard siding, 3/4 inch. We have the membrane air infiltration. We have plywood. We have our 2x6 wall. Remember, 2x6 is actually 5.5 inches thick by 1.5 inches. And then we have our gypsum wallboard, our sheetrock on the inside. That's great. So it's done. It also tells you, and it's really kind of neat here, it tells you the R value. Now you notice it's pretty low. It's only 8. That's because they haven't included the R value of 2x6 insulation, which might be somewhere around 19 or so. So then you're talking about an R value of 27, which is pretty good. So let's click OK on this and OK on that. And we now have set our walls to 9 feet, so make sure you've done that before you start drawing. And I'm going to actually start drawing a wall. I'm going to click once, and I'm going to go up to about a 30 I'm going to make mine 30 by 38 just to give you a quick sample of a couple things that are going to help you out with your project. So I've created that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I like to be able to see fine detail, but you can see the lines are really thick on here. So again, I clicked down here, selected fine, and I want to go to view and choose thin lines. And now when I zoom in even further, I can see that I have my different layers, my siding, I have my plywood sheathing, gypsum wallboard. So that kind of shows that basic idea. If we add an interior wall here, I'm going to show you your interior walls. Click the architecture tab, and interior walls are also preset. If we scroll down here, you have a interior 4.5 inch partition. That is the one that should meet your design specs. 1/2 inch gypsum wallboard on either side with a 2x4 in the middle. Again, 2x4 is only 3.5 inches thick. So that looks good. And so we click OK on that. So if I draw in a, maybe I'm going to draw a room in here, then I measure the room. I need to measure it from the exterior point to this exterior point. And you can see it's 7 feet and 1/8 inch. So this gives me kind of an idea how big that room is. Bedrooms don't need to be as exact, but kitchens and bathrooms really do, because those are the rooms where you have counters and cabinets and things that are to exact dimensions. So make sure that those meet your exact design specs, and you'll notice that when I pull this out, it says 8 feet 2, but that's from center of wall to center of wall. So you're going to have to do some measuring to constantly check on this. Now I have 7 feet 8 1/8, whereas the design said 8 feet 2. So make sure that you check when you're making your kitchens and bathrooms that they're the size that you want. And the reason I like to have that fine view of thin lines is because it really shows me, do these walls look the way they want, or is the wall accidentally inside out? If the arrows are on the inside, now you can see I have my siding on the inside of the house. So that's why thin lines seems to really help. So we have a kind of your basic setup here. The last thing I wanted to show you, and then you are ready to go on your own, is if we click on door on this one, there's a lot of preset doors. You're probably not going to have raised panel with side lights. That's an expensive front door, so you're probably not going to have that. These sliding closet doors are great if you had that option in your drawing. And then single flush doors. Most of you probably aren't going to have double glass doors on the inside of your house. But please note that your door height is typically 80 inches. It's not 84. And for Habitat for Humanity, or sorry, for Universal Design Guidelines, all of your entrances need to be 36 inches. The pantry could be a little bit smaller because you're not wheeling a wheelchair into a pantry. But otherwise, you should have a 36 by 80. So I can set that door, and remember to change which direction the door faces. You just click on the arrows, and your door needs to have room for trim. So putting a door this close to a wall is not acceptable, because when you do a walkthrough of this house, you're going to see there is not enough room for trim on this. So hopefully that gives you enough to get you started. You have your design, floor plan, layouts set. You know how to put your walls in and your doors.
The last thing you need to put into place is windows before we actually align and set the perfect dimensions for our home, which we'll do in the next video. And to get into windows, we're going to go up to architecture and click on window. And there's always going to be some default items preloaded into our document, but there's a lot more items than what's just preloaded. So we need to make sure we're using the correct windows. So if I go back to lesson 8, it shows the Habitat for Humanity guidelines. This is the one you highlighted and the one that you're going to need to continuously reference as you're designing your home. So I want to look and try to find, well, what are my requirements for windows? So if I type Control F and I go up here to find a document, I'm just going to do a search for window. It takes me down here to section 9, and it says all windows should be white vinyl, single hung. The key here is single hung. That's what I'm going to find in Revit. It also says every bedroom has to have 1 window. Kitchen and dining rooms have at least 2 windows, or a double and single. So this gives me my specifications for windows. So let me go back over into Revit, and I can see here I have a double hung, but I don't have a single hung. So if I click Load Family, and this only works again in the window library where it says Modify Place Window. If it doesn't say that, you got to go back to Architecture, click on Window, and then click Modify and Place Window to load the family. And now I go all the way down into these libraries. You can see there's also a doors library, so you can add in custom doors as well. And I go down and I double click my windows. And if I go all the way to the bottom, that's where I'm going to find my single hung. So I'm going to look for a single hung and open that one. And then I'm going to open up all the different options that they have here. And now you can see they've given me some single hung options, and they've actually only given me one, a 38-inch by 42-inch. So you can modify all of these items, these doors and windows, by clicking Edit Type. And if I want to make a 3-foot wide by 4-foot tall window, I can duplicate this, and I can call 3 foot is 36 inches, by 4 foot is 48 inches. So I'm going to just label it what it's going to be, and then I change my width to 3 feet, and I change my height to 4 feet. And now I click OK. And now I've made a custom window that's the exact width and height that I want. The sill height is 3 feet off the ground, which is going to matter when we look in 3D. I click on that window, got to make sure that the double arrows are on the outside so it's hung correctly. Anytime the double arrows are on the inside, then it's inverted, and we want to make sure it's on the outside. So that's how we set our windows, walls, and doors. After you place them, it is a good idea to check and see if it looks the way that you want. And so if I take a look at the left side here, the left side is the west side. If I look at the west elevation, double click that one, then I'm going to see my window here. Now, obviously, I haven't edited the height of my building yet, but that window looks pretty good. It shows that the window opens up. I like the size of that. If I look at the south view, then I can see I placed my door there. But it gives you kind of an idea to make sure that you're seeing exactly what it is you want to see from your design. So go back into first floor plan, and from here you should be able to create your design based off your floor plan.